Yeah, devotional singing can draw us a little closer to the truth of our being sometimes. And mutakabla, antamutu, means coming out of the unreal and being in the real of what you are, the eternal reality in your presence. Maybe this sounds like too high a bar for living to a higher purpose, but allow a crack in the door that this is not too high a bar. So I want to suggest this morning, what if our highest purpose is ceasing to become altogether? That could sound very strange, but ceasing to become implies a revolution in the mind and heart, in which consciousness recognizes itself and begins to have its way with us. So this all sounds very serious. I'm going to start with a joke. Gladys had a near-death experience on the operating table, and she comes before God, and God says, you're here too early. You have 40 years, 6 months, and 3 days to live. You go on back. She's like, wow. So Gladys goes back, gets back in her body, and when she comes out of the hospital, she says, wow, 40 more years. I'm going to get ready for this. So she goes and gets a tummy tuck and a facelift and buys a completely new wardrobe, lots of colorful clothes and several bathing suits, and she gets the latest designer sunglasses and goes and changes her hair color, and gets the latest style. So she steps out of the beautician and off the curb and gets run over by a bus. So she goes up to heaven and says, I thought I had 40 more years. How could you let that bus hit me? God said, I didn't recognize you. So this illustrates that God only recognizes God. God doesn't recognize someone masquerading as God. And that kind of gets me into the first part I want to talk about here. Eckhart Tolle says, most people approach life as if they expect it to make them happy. And we see this everywhere. You look on Facebook, here I am on my bucket list vacation. Look at me, we're living to an image we have of ourselves and what the good life is or what life is about. And everybody just sort of accepts that's how it is. But then Eckhart Tolle says, when that doesn't work out, making life make you happy, people feel cheated. Well, they got to do that. And I'm like, so what a setup, But he says life isn't there to make you happy. It's there to make you conscious. And Hazrat Khan says essentially the same thing. If the soul does not hear the call and sleeps, it's not the fault of nature, which is continually calling. Therefore, if I were to say in a few words how to find one's purpose, I would say by waking from sleep. Waking from sleep. So how are we asleep? Most people are indeed sleepwalking through their lives, believing themselves, everything, and everyone to have a separate existence. And in the Eastern traditions, this is called ignorance. Ignorance. being focused on the material. And people make various demands on life to make them happy and all kinds of things through experiences, substances, relationships, activities. It's the personal self chasing an endless mirage of desires and attachments, all while trying to avoid as much pain as possible. It's the greatest irony that we're already, all of us, looking out from timeless, placeless, eternal being. But so few people have the curiosity, the commitment, and take the time to discover this fact. So in earlier talks I've given, I've talked about all of this stuff. Consciousness is one. The real self is pure awareness. And realizing the primacy of that awareness takes falling back into ourselves. Who is the subject? What is the subject of my experience? How does that experience arise, and what's the nature of it? This investigation requires something of us. And in doing it, we find, in fact, that separate self doesn't even exist. It's simply the activity of moving away from, of resisting the present moment. The activity of mind obscures this context with a fire hose of thinking, memories, attachments. And it rides all of this activity like a horse into the future, which is entirely a figment of the imagination. How many of us have ever been to the future? Not in thought, but actually going there. Or to the past. Completely a figment of everybody's imagination. As we all know, the power of now, there's only now. But that investigation, carrying it all the way to the end, is part of spiritual life. If we turn the volume down just a hair there, Larry. So when things don't go the way of that separate self, it feels cheated. And Rumi poked fun at this when he wrote, "Who makes these changes? I shoot an arrow right, it lands left. I ride after a deer and find myself chased by a hog. I plot to get what I want and end up in prison. I dig pits to trap others and fall in. I should be suspicious of what I want." He's saying we're being lived by something tremendous, infinite intelligence. A petty little life, just getting by, doesn't satisfy. That intelligence actually throws up situations, roadblocks, setbacks, and disasters when the separate self believes it's in charge. And it defines itself most acutely by struggling, including what is my purpose? Underneath it all is, I am the one who struggled, or the one who is struggling now. And then we should also consider just the role of time, as I referred to earlier. I will become, I will attain, have, and possess. When we succumb to that model of reality, we've accepted the movement of the self, the attainment of a better self in the future. And this movement, literally, it takes us away from our real self, our real being. So, coming back to Eckhart Tolle then, and wrap up what he was saying about all this, life's here to make you conscious, and it therefore presents challenges, challenging situations. Challenge is good. It builds strength, it builds character, it calls out divine attributes. Here's what Hazrat Inayat Khan said about that. I asked for strength, and God gave me difficulties to make me strong. I asked for wisdom, and God gave me problems to learn to solve. I asked for prosperity, and God gave me a brain and brawn to work. I asked for courage, and God gave me dangers to overcome. I asked for love, and God gave me people to help. I asked for favors, and God gave me opportunities. I received nothing I wanted. I received everything I needed. Now we're beginning to put some light on how things are actually set up. What would it mean to stop making demands on life, to become suspicious of what we want, and start living life from the inside out? The modern sage Adyashanti said this: to rest in the unknown means that your mind knows absolutely nothing about how to get to your goal. It means you have stopped looking toward the mind to tell you how, when, and where. By absolutely ceasing to become, you stop. This stopping is effortless. It comes out of wisdom. So let's just notice for a moment how unappealing a statement like that is to the ego. That one that's encased in mind needs time and struggle to survive. And it might say, my God, are we just supposed to become couch potatoes? Never do anything again? That's the discomfort we may feel as the momentum of this effort to become just keeps spinning. Resting in the unknown, in the infinite, sounds bizarre and perhaps scary to the mind. But the heart says, a hot tub. In these days of apparent chaos, turmoil, and rapid change on the world stage and elsewhere, resting heartfully in the unknown is the only sane stance with the seeming madness. The remedy we're all actually seeking is to find our home rooted in that which does not change. Silence, stillness, artfulness in the I am. How do we sort this out? So in my last talk, I talked about sinking the mind into the heart, where we just return to our pure knowing and realize the primacy of awareness, that everything is appearing in and made of our awareness. What is it that recognizes that? Awareness recognizes awareness. What else could it be? Awareness recognizes awareness. Feel that. Is there something that rings true about that? Something that's beyond your life details, the panorama of everything? Being aware of being aware. You have to go slowly at first and really soak in the implications of it. Consciousness doesn't evolve. You're exactly the same knowing of your experience as when you were 5 years old. Mind does evolve. And a mind that evolves toward a recognition of its source and an understanding of our shared being in that source is evolving. It's a mind evolving toward the highest truth we can live from. So beginning to live from awakeness or aware presence or heartful attention is symbolized by the Sufi heart with wings. Maybe you've seen that symbol. The heart symbolizes the recognition of no separation. The dropping of separation is love. The two wings, and you may be surprised to hear this, are indifference and independence. That means that we are no longer making demands on life and no longer dependent on anyone or anything to be who we are. It's perfect freedom. So what does this look like to live from that heart with wings? Jesus said in John 3, verse 8, "The wind blows where it pleases. You hear its sound, but you cannot tell where it comes from or where it is going. So it is with everyone born of the Spirit." Adyashanti says it this way: "There's nothing to do, nothing to be, and nothing to become. There's nowhere to go and no experience to have." But to give it a little more direction than that, I'm going to paraphrase a bit some of the sayings from English sage Rupert Spira, who's a genius at finding words to invite everyone to return home to themselves. "Let all resistance come to rest in peace." Resistance to what is all there is to keeping any of us from that which we long for, our very own being. There is no one who resists. There's just resisting. See your resistance. Come out of it. Next time something gets your goat or you're complaining, check it out. Coming in to who we really are and being in peace is the peace that passes all understanding. Peace is here already, if you notice, within you and around the edges of your awareness. Hang out with that peace, that still place within. Spend some time there, even during the course of your day. Another statement from Rupert: "Let all sense of lack come to rest in happiness." As I've talked about before here, true happiness is uncaused. It's feeling complete and whole within yourself without anything needing to be added. It happens when the clear blue sky of you breaks through the clouds of gloom and the things that have been accumulated. Simply when you see there's nothing lacking in this moment. That's a famous statement of the Zen guy raising his finger. What is lacking now? In any given moment, there's never anything lacking. because our being contains everything there is. Every single need is met, even when in the midst of situations which will always exist. In being, we are present to everything as everything, and we feel held and nurtured by that. Let all longing come to rest in love. If we're longing for a relationship, longing for harmony in the world, longing or grieving for something that is lost, just come to rest in love. Longing is simply the echo or memory of our true self, that which knows love without an object. Finally, let all becoming come to rest in being. Let truth carry your life forward. Let go of being the doer. Everything just happens anyway. Truth exists before any thought about it, always reveals what's next, and doesn't care if people like you or not. If we're doing what we believe others will like or accept, we're not in the domain of truth. As Adyashanti says, don't stuff more truth into your life, throw your life into the truth. In other words, let truth live you. Coming to rest in love could also be what St. Augustine said, which was basically love everybody and then do whatever you like. We can have different opinions, even strongly divergent views, but we keep loving everybody and everything because it's our very own being. And perhaps the sum total of living to a higher truth can be found in this saying of the great Indian sage Nisargadatta Maharaj: wisdom tells me I'm nothing. Love tells me I'm everything. And between the two, my life flows. Wisdom tells me I'm nothing. Love tells me I'm everything. And between the two, my life flows. Let's come out of what we are not, which is any object, thought, or perception we can find. Wisdom tells us this. When separation is dropped, our hearts truly reveal the highest purpose we can live to, right there amidst the beauty, struggles, and detritus of daily life. May we all keep letting go and evolving toward what we know in our hearts is our real self, which is the highest purpose we can ever live. Thank you. And we'll